what lovely green vapors. Oh, look, a friend. Wait, no, get away from me. Get away. No! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am SocioPsycho, and today it is my privilege to bring you Copod, a game created by Ben Perry, and it is a roguelite on Desur in beta. Now, why am I bringing you a game in beta? Because I feel it's worth bringing you. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us go into the options menu, and as you can see here, you have screen brightness, anti-aliasing, music, and sound on different sliders, which is nice. Plenty of screen resolution, full screen, and window mode. Now, the game doesn't have much graphical depth, but it doesn't need it, as the game looks good and is maybe simplistic, but it gets the job done, and all the controls are easily rebindable with no issues. When we go into stats, you can see the difference in what you've been able to do during your playthrough, and I have a lot of deaths. When you go into unlocks, as you go through each of these missions, different levels, you'll come across a little currency, and you collect them, and you just unlock these little things. These are more like collectibles rather than anything that really adds in depth to the game. Now, what's really nice about the fact that this is a roguelike, and right here in the game setup screen, is that you can choose how you want to play. As you see, I'm scrolling over these different aspects here, and they each do different things. What they mean is that you have a chance for either making the game harder for yourself or maybe a little bit easier. This offers a replayability that the game desperately needs, or any roguelike game desperately needs. Replayability. So, what does it actually do? Well, it increases the difficulty that you want, or it, like I said, it gives you a handicap. You have different special powers and abilities going into it. You can either steal others' lives, or you can make things tougher, so you can try to balance out and go in with additional powers or go in with less. This offers a opportunity, even with randomized capability, that you can choose to make the game feel interesting and fresh each time you go through, or if you're looking for an increase in challenge. Now, the game itself isn't actually all that ugly to look at. I said it was simplistic in how it's designed, and yes, it does look pretty simplistic, but it's not bad looking at all, and the game controls and handles fairly well. There's a few minor gripes about how the movement is. It's a little bit slow taking off if you're from a stationary position, but there are upgrades and powers which we'll go into which may balance that. That's really my only gripe about the game, is the fact that just starting off, sometimes it feels a little bit slow in movement alone. So what is the game? How does it work? Well, if we look at the interface here, in the middle, the top part, you have your health bar. On the top left, you have skulls, which is currency, and on the top right, you have your power-ups. Now, the power-ups are things that you collect throughout the mission, and you can use in situations which are dangerous, such as in here. If you don't save and use these as appropriate, as it is important to manage your resources, then you may find yourself overwhelmed or die because you don't have the right capability. And the fact is, there is a lot of variety in the different power-ups. There have been many special powers that you can use throughout each of the level. It's not an issue of, oh, there's no power-ups to be found, but the fact that you have to be smart about how you use them and manage them. Otherwise, if you just blow through all of them, then you may not have one when you actually need it. There is a recharge option above the power-ups on the top right-hand side. After you kill a certain amount of creatures, it will drop you a new power-up. So you're never really feeling without power-ups unless you just blow through them all, and it does a good job of balancing it to where you don't have too many, but if you don't use what you have wisely, you may just find yourself in a situation that you can't get out of. Like this Eat Me power-up, which increases your size, which increases your damage damage mitigation, how much abuse you can take before losing health, as well as cleaning off poison that you may have. Unfortunately, silly stuff like this doesn't stay on too long. It does stay on as it is a power-up, but it would be nice to have a little bit more customization in the character, even in the evolutional stages, which we'll show you in a moment, about how your character can look and kind of be just silly in its own regard. And on the bottom left corner, you can see the map. Now, what matters and why this game is even, I feel, worth your attention is the fact that it has a lot of variety, whether it be in the power-ups, your evolutionary selection, or just the enemies you come across. The whole purpose of the game is to gather flowers up. You have a chance of getting a blue flower and a purple flower. If you give a blue flower to the right unit, it's going to give you an increase in currency, but your main goal is to give a purple flower to the yellow lover in the world. When you do this, then you get to go to the next level, but before that you have an evolutionary stage where you get to choose and pick a different power that you can buy using your currency, whether it be a health increase where you damage other enemies and you gain ticks and bombs. So if you're looking right now at the bottom screen, you can see that there's a sort of health bar, and as you damage more, that goes up, and then you get a new heart in your health meter. There's resistance to poison, damage increase, speed increase, stun damage. There is a lot of variety in the game, and that's what's nice, because when you have variety in the game, it doesn't make it just another cheap playthrough, and it offers the replay value. It's fairly satisfying because you have to have a certain level of stealth or even just awareness in how you're doing, because you're not some super amazing, powerful creature. You have to use a little bit of awareness in what you're going. Which power do you pick? What powers are available to you? Because on your first playthrough, when you level up in the evolution chamber for the first time, it may be completely different than your second time playing through. It doesn't hard code what power-ups, what enemies, or what evolutionary traits are offered to you at individual times. And this is what's important, because it offers that randomization even in the level design. Now, the levels are pretty simple and they hold the same base structure, but where they're placed and how the maps lay out is different and randomized. This is important because you can end up having to go through 5 different gas rooms or a whole bunch of enemies you don't want to before you actually get to where you need to. Randomization in the levels, even though the levels look fairly the same, is still good because it still makes it feel different. Another thing to note is, yes, it may have been randomized, but it hasn't been randomized to a point of annoyance, just an increase in difficulty. I've never felt like the system has been abusing me, but just an increase in hardness. And that is a difficult task to pull off, but one they've managed to do. And when you go into how much you can do in the world, whether you want to become sort of a leader of little troops and kind of be like, hey, I want you guys to help me out in battle, the nice thing is that they're not time sensitive. They will remain on the map with you the entire time, but they will die if taking damage. But they also take some pressure off of you, which could help you in being alive. As you can see here, they're doing quite well in fighting, but should the enemy attack them, they will die. It's a usage of your powers and capabilities, as different powers may have some benefits, and you have to weigh, is it worth being a glass cannon where I increase my damage but I lose a health? Is it worth pumping out more allies via a special power but losing health? You have to decide how you want to play, and how you play dramatically affects how the game feels. And that's what's important. Whether you have to sneak around certain obstacles because you didn't pick the poison resist, or you just have to completely abandon an area because you don't have the health or power in order to be able to fight. It does a good job in the roguelite element. It's surprisingly fun, more so than you may think. The enemy variety in the game and the artistic style may be simple, but it's enough to get by. And there are many times where you may get screwed because one creature will pull you with a sort of grapple, and all the other creatures are now able to bang onto you because you can't swim away. There are monsters which shoot out giant tongues at you. There's a variety of options in the game that only get more intense as you level up and get to the higher levels, and more variety, numbers, and difficulty do increase. The game doesn't feel unfair or like it ever felt like it was going to waste my time. It's been a fun experience and one I hope to share with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been SocioPsycho. This game is on Desura for $5, and I can recommend it easily. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time.